Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by, and welcome to the second quarter 2024 Hello Group Incorporated earnings conference call. All participants are in a listen-only mode. There will be a presentation followed by a question-and-answer session. If you wish to ask a question, you will need to press the star key followed by the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Please note this conference is being recorded today. I would now like to hand the conference over to your first speaker today, Ms. Ashley Jing. Thank you. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, operator. Good morning and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for Hello Group's second quarter 2024 earnings conference call. The company's results were released earlier today and are available on the company's IR website. On the call today, we have Mr. Tang Yan, CEO of the company, Ms. Jiang Sichuan, CEO of the company, and Ms. Peng Hui, CFO of the company. They will discuss the company's business operations and highlights, as well as the financials and guidance. They will all be available to answer your questions during the Q&A session that follows. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that this call may contain forward-looking statements made under the safe harbor provision of the Private Securities Litigation Reform Act of 1995. Such statements are based on management's current expectations and current market and operating conditions, and relate to events that involve known or unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors, all of which are difficult to predict and many of which are beyond the company's control, which may cause the company's actual results, performance, or achievements to differ materially from those in the forward-looking statements. Further information regarding this and other risks, uncertainties, and factors is included in the company's filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. The company does not undertake any obligation to update any forward-looking statements as a result of new information, future events, or otherwise, except as required under law. I will now pass the call over to our COO, Ms. Jiang Sichuan. Ms. Jiang, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our call. I will now walk you through the progress we make in the second quarter against our strategic priorities across all businesses. I will start with a brief overview of our financial performance. For the second quarter of 2024, total group revenue was 2.69 billion RMB, down 14% year-over-year, but up 5% sequentially. Adjusted operating income was 477 million RMB, down 33% year-over-year and 7% sequentially. Profit margin was 17.7%, down 4.9 percentage points year-over-year and 2.4 percentage points sequentially. In terms of business segments, total revenue from the Momo app and standalone new app was 2.46 billion RMB, down 30% year-over-year, but up 6% sequentially. The year-over-year decline was mainly due to the decline in revenue from the Momo app, resulting from spending softness amid the weak macroeconomy and our proactive product and operational adjustments to maintain a healthy community ecosystem since the end of last year. The sequential increase was due to seasonality. In quarter 2, standalone new apps maintained their growth momentum on both year-on-year and sequential basis, driven by our overseas business. Adjusted operating income from the Momo app and standalone new app was 456 million RMB, down 33% year-over-year and 6% sequentially, mainly due to the revenue decline. Adjusted operating margin was 18.5%, down 5.5 percentage points year-over-year and 2.4 percentage points sequentially. For Tantan, total revenue for the quarter was 234 million RMB, down 27% year-over-year and 3% sequentially, mainly due to the decreased number of paying users. Adjusted operating income was 20.6 million RMB, compared with 31.9 million RMB a year ago and 28.8 million RMB a quarter ago. representing a margin of 8.8%, down 1.1 percentage point year-over-year and 3.1 percentage point sequentially. Now I will walk you through the progress we have made against our strategic priorities for Momo, Tantan, and new endeavors since the beginning of the year. Our main goal for the Momo app this year is to maintain the productivity of the cash cow business with a healthy social ecosystem. Tantan's goal is to continue improving the core dating experience and build an efficient business model that drives profitable growth. As for our new endeavors, our goal is to further enrich the brand portfolio, push the business boundaries beyond Momo and Tantan, and build a long-term growth engine. I will now walk you through the details of our execution. First, on the product and operational fronts of the Momo app. In the second quarter, our product team focused on optimizing the community ecosystem, improving the female user experience, and increasing the volume of effective social interactions. To improve the experience of female users receiving greetings, our product team applied AI technology to help male users to generate greeting faces, which increased the success rate of ice-breaking chats and led to the growth of two-way chats. In terms of algorithm strategy, we increased the matching rate of active female users to improve the experience for users with unmatched social needs. Our optimization of product and recommendation strategy plays a positive role in increasing both the number of matches and the number of two-way chats. In addition, for the Finding Partners, or 找搭子, a pilot program for our online to offline interest group, which has been running for a year, in the second quarter, we focused on expanding the coverage of our young user base to improve young Momo's social brand perception. Our efforts to further improve and make breakthroughs in products and algorithms based on brand tone, vibe, and user preferences are an important foundation for Momo Cash Cow business to maintain sustainable productivity. On the channel front, our user acquisition team continued to implement ROI-oriented strategies and work with our commercial product team to recommend interactive features to users from channels that match their spending capabilities to improve paying conversion. In order to increase the proportion of female users, we adjusted our advertising materials and channel strategies to focus on female users and work with our product team to specifically recommend interactive female-friendly features to improve their onboarding experience on our platform. After several years of optimizing channel strategies, the room to further reduce unit acquisition costs is relatively limited. Accordingly, we have been working with KOLs to leverage new channels to bring in incremental traffic, thereby increasing brand exposure with a limited budget and controlling user acquisition costs within a reasonable range. In the second quarter, the Momo app had 7.2 million paying users, an increase of 100,000 driven by the return of long-tail VAS users after the quarter one low seasonality. Now, let's talk about the productivity of our Momo Cash Cow business. In the second quarter, Momo's live streaming revenue was 1.22 billion RMB, down 50% year-over-year, but up 6% sequentially. The year-over-year decline was mainly due to our strategy to proactively reduce revenue-oriented large-scale competition events in order to maintain a healthy social ecosystem and spending softness amidst the weak macroeconomy. On the sequential basis, revenue increased after the seasonal lull, but the growth rate was lower than the previous years. This was mainly due to the adjustment to our event operating policy, which resulted in lower profits for agencies and broadcasters, which in turn caused them to be less motivated. To address this issue, we have moderately increased the incentive for non-event operations, and the revenue sharing ratio has increased slightly quarter-over-quarter. Our product team also introduced specific interactive features for users at different levels, increasing daily revenue and reducing reliance on event revenue. Moreover, we have introduced props such as privilege functions and host costumes in live streaming showroom, which do not require revenue sharing. This not only enriches the variety of features and keeps users engaged, but it also plays a positive role in improving the profit level of live streaming. In quarter 2, revenue from added services, excluding Tantan, totaled 1.21 billion RMB, down 9% year-over-year, but up 5% sequentially. WAS revenue from the Momo app was 850 million RMB, down 20% year-over-year, but up 5% sequentially. Revenue from the standalone apps was 355 million RMB, up 36% year-over-year and 4% sequentially. The year-over-year decline in VAS revenue from the Momo app was mainly due to our proactive product and operational adjustments to mitigate the regulatory risk, which put pressure on number of Momo VAS paying users and app people. Additionally, macro factors also weighed on consumer sentiment. The sequential growth was mainly due to seasonality. On the product operational front, we launched new gifting features in the audio and video-based commercial channels to help broadcasters effectively interact with medium and long-tail users. We also tested interactive light games such as Xiao Xiao Le and new categories such as love fortune telling in our chat room features, which has the largest user base. Our data shows that the paying conversion of the new features was higher than the existing features. Turning to Tantan, let me first talk about its user trends and financial performance. Although our cost reduction and efficiency improvement strategy implemented over the past 2 years has effectively driven Tantan to profitability, the continued reduction in channel investments has put significant pressure on Tantan's user base. Meanwhile, the lack of investment in branding over the years has led to a continuous decline in organic users. At the same time, we haven't been able to find an effective product-level solution that can significantly improve user retention. The combination of the above-mentioned factors has resulted in Tantan's MAU decreasing by 6% sequentially to 12.9 million in June. As of end of the second quarter, Tantan had 1 million paying users, down to 100,000 sequentially. The main reason were the decline in MAU, the short-term negative impact on new paying user conversion from the UI upgrade, and the regulatory-related redesign of the new renewal page. Turning to Tantan's financial, total revenue for the quarter was 234 million RMB, down 27% year-over-year and 3% sequentially. mainly due to the reduction in the number of paying users. Overall, ARPU was flat year-over-year, among which the ARPU of the live streaming business decreased significantly as a result of our strategy to emphasize live streaming, which has a lower correlation with the dating experience. While ARPU saw a significant year-on-year increase thanks to our efforts to promote relatively high-priced products such as Black Gold, SVIP membership, and additional pay-as-you-go privilege for members, enabling the sustainability of the overall ARPU. In terms of business line, VAS revenue was 140 million RMB, down 18% year-over-year and 4% sequentially, while live streaming revenue was 83 million RMB, down 43% year-over-year and 5% sequentially. Now, I would like to walk you through the efforts we make on Tantan product and user acquisition front and the challenges we face. First, on the marketing and user acquisition front, to address the issues of weak brand awareness among young users and a significant decline in organic users due to the inadequate brand promotion, we conducted branding events during the quarter in cooperation with offline venues such as bars and clubs in metropolitan cities with a high density of young people. We also leveraged new media channels for online promotion to increase awareness of Tantan among young people and overall brand popularity. We believe that compared with user acquisition through channels, driving user growth by improving brand awareness is a relatively long-term initiative that can take time to bear visible fruit. But over time, it plays a positive role in the continuous and stable growth of our organic users, especially as Tantan has gradually refocused on the core dating experience by emphasizing the community-oriented and entertainment-oriented experience in recent quarters. This is important for us to strengthen young people's awareness of Tantan's value for the dating through long-term brand investments and product improvements. Therefore, continuous increasing the opportunities for brand exposure with a controllable range of marketing investments will be a long-term direction for our branding strategy in the future. On the user acquisition front, factors such as the e-commerce festival in June led to fierce channel competition, resulting in a sequential increase in unit acquisition costs, which combined with the pressure on the new user ARPU from the UI upgrade led to a sequential decrease in channel ROI. To address this, our user acquisition and membership product teams work together to recommend relatively high-end membership product to high-value users from channels, which help increase the user ARPU. Now, let me give you an update on the progress Tantan has made on product and operational sides. In the second quarter, we worked on an upgraded version to improve the dating experience for users. Preliminary user interviews and surveys revealed two major pain points in user experience. First, uncertainty about the authenticity of picture profiles and users' identity. And second, lack of response to chat after matching. Since the issue of spamming has been effectively controlled since the beginning of the year, user feedback on inauthentic experience stem primarily from issues such as incomplete profile information, lack of real person authentication, and photos that look too good to be true. The first phase of our redesign in Q2 focused on guiding users to complete their profile information and encouraging them to spend more time learning about potential matchings before swiping. Early data shows that users with a richer profile content has significantly higher post-match conversation rates than those just a profile picture and basic information. However, this improvement in matching experience and deeper chat interaction conflicted with our existing business model, which relied largely on users' quick swiping decisions based solely on looking at profile picture. The negative impact of this redesign on new user paying conversion was one of the reasons for the sequential decline in Tantan's number of paying users. Nevertheless, we believe that making short-term commercial sacrifices to improve long-term user experience is a critical foundation for Tantan to ultimately achieve the strategic goals of profitable growth. We should monetize product features that improve user experience and add value to them, rather than do so at the expense of user experience, which can only get us into a downward cycle. During the ongoing product upgrades and optimization, our commercial product team will continue to optimize paying experience to increase new user ARPU, which should partially offset the negative impact on revenue caused by the product upgrades. Lastly, in terms of our new endeavors, in the second quarter, total revenue of the new apps reached 355 million RMB, up 36% year-over-year and 4% sequentially, mainly driven by our overseas business. With a stable channel ROI, we moderately increased channel investments, driving steady growth in MAU and paying users. On the product and operational front, our team has been accelerating the localization process of overseas business since the beginning of the year. After strengthening the localization research on virtual gifts and props, our commercial product team introduced hot sales gifts that better match local user preferences. Meanwhile, our local operation teams refine our services for high-paying users and standardize supply-side collaborations and KPIs. This combined effort led to a significant increase in number of top-tier paying users, which in turn drove the ARPU growth. The simultaneous increase in paying users and ARPU has laid a solid foundation for sustainable and stable growth in our overseas business. Regarding our expansion in the MENA region, we are focusing on two key tasks: regional expansion and expanding our offering from voice-based to live streaming. These initiatives are taking longer than we anticipated at the beginning of the year, as we realized that both efforts require a highly localized service team as a prerequisite. We do not done enough in the past couple of years in terms of localization, and we are now accelerating our efforts to make up the shortcomings. Overall, we remain confident in our growth potential in the MENA region. Compared to 6 months ago, we now have a clear understanding of what we must do to continue to grow, and we will continue to invest in this region. This concludes my remarks. Now, let me pass the call over to Kathy for the financial review. Kathy, please.
Thank you, Sick.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our conference call today. Now let me briefly take you through the financial review. Total revenue for the second quarter 2024 was 2.69 billion RMB, down 14% year-on-year, but up 5% quarter-over-quarter. Non-GAAP net income attributable to the company was 449.2 million RMB, compared to 632.1 million RMB for the same period of 2023 and 59.9 million from the last quarter. In Q1, we had a one-off non-cash tax provision. Excluding this non-cash tax item, non-GAAP net income would have been 508.5 million RMB for last quarter. Looking into the key revenue items for the quarter. Firstly, on live broadcasting, total revenue from live broadcasting business for the second quarter of 2024 was 1.30 billion RMB, down 18% year-over-year, but up 5% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year decrease was largely attributable to a decline in the core Momo live streaming business, and to a lesser degree, the decrease in Tantan. The sequential growth was driven by the core Momo live streaming service. In terms of segments, Momo app live broadcasting revenue totaled 1.22 billion RMB for the quarter, down 15% year-over-year, but up 6% quarter-over-quarter. The year-over-year decrease was due to our proactive product and operational adjustments to de-emphasize revenue-oriented competition events and weak consumer sentiment. The sequential growth was due to a rebound after negative seasonality. Tantan's live broadcasting revenue amounted to 83.0 million RMB, down 43% year-over-year and 5% quarter-over-quarter. The decrease was due to our strategic decision to pivot away from the less dating-centric service. Revenue from the value-added services for the second quarter of 2024 was 1.35 billion RMB, down 10% from Q2 last year, but up 4% sequentially. The YOY decrease was due to a decline in both Momo and Tantan. However, the growth of standalone new apps partially offset the downward revenue pressure. Value-added service revenue grew sequentially, driven by the recovery from Momo VAS and continued growth of new applications. Revenue from VAS on an ex-Tantan basis was 1.21 billion RMB in the second quarter of 2024, down 9% from Q2 last year, but up 5% from the previous quarter. Momo app value-added service revenue decreased from Q2 last year due to our proactive product adjustments to manage regulatory risks, as well as a weak spending sentiment. And the sequential revenue growth was driven by seasonal recovery. Revenue from the standalone new apps continued to grow both on a year-on-year and quarter-over-quarter basis, driven by the steady improvement of the overseas business. Tantan's value-added service revenue amounted to RMB 139.9 million, down 18% year-over-year and 4% sequentially. The decrease was due to a decline in paying users, which was in turn due to a reduction in channel investments, the UI upgrade, and the adjustments to subscription renewal policy. Now turning to costs and expenses. Non-GAAP cost of revenue for the second quarter of 2024 was 1.59 billion RMB compared to 1.82 billion for the same period last year. Non-GAAP gross margin for the quarter was 40.8%, down 1.3 percentage points from the year-ago period. The year-over-year decrease was primarily due to a number of different factors. Number one, higher payout ratio in our overseas endeavors as we expand into new regions and try to launch new video service, as well as the change in revenue mix toward higher payout businesses. Number two, deleverage where direct personnel and infrastructure costs take up a higher percentage of revenues. Number 3, payment channel costs represent a higher percentage of revenues as revenue mix shift toward overseas business. The payout ratio of the core Momo app remains stable with a slight downward trend due to the reduction in event-related bonuses. Non-GAAP R&D expenses for the second quarter was 179.9 million RMB compared to 200.8 million RMB for the same period last year, or an 11% decrease year-over-year. The decrease was due to the continuous optimization in personnel and infrastructure costs. Non-GAAP R&D expenses as a percentage of revenue was 7% compared with 6% from the year-ago period. We ended the quarter with 1,364 total employees, of which 282 are from Tantan, compared to 1,470 total employees, of which 339 from Tantan a year ago. The R&D personnel as a percentage of total employee for the group was 62% compared with 63% Q2 last year. Non-GAAP sales and marketing expenses for the second quarter was 360.6 million RMB, or 16% of total revenue, compared to 349.7 million RMB, or 11% of total revenue for the same period last year. The year-over-year increase in absolute renminbi amount was mainly due to an offline gala for Momo live streaming service, which in 2023 was held in Q1. Non-GAAP G&A expenses was 89.5 million RMB for the second quarter of 2024, compared to 83.2 million RMB for the same period last year, both representing 3% of total revenue. Non-GAAP operating income was 476.5 million RMB, a decrease of 33% from Q2 2023, down 7% from the previous quarter. Non-GAAP operating margin for the quarter was 17.7%, down 4.9 percentage points from the same period last year and 2.4 percentage points from the previous quarter. Non-GAAP OPEX as a percentage of total revenue was 23%, an increase from 20% from Q2 2023 and up from 22% in Q1 this year. Now briefly on income tax expenses. Total income tax expense was 102.6 million RMB for the quarter, with an effective tax rate of 19%. In Q2, the company accrued withholding income tax of 17.3 million RMB, which is 5% of undistributed profit generated by our WOFE. Without the withholding tax, our estimated non-GAAP effective tax rate was around 16% in the second quarter. Now turning to balance sheet and cash flow items. As of June 30th, 2024, Hello Group's cash equivalents, short-term deposits, long-term deposits, short-term investments, and restricted cash totaled 14.32 billion RMB compared to 13.48 billion RMB as of December 31st, 2023. In Q2, we paid an equivalent of 716 million RMB cash dividends to our shareholders. In the current quarter, we bought back 395 million RMB, or $54 million worth of shares in the open market. Net cash provided by operating activities in the second quarter 2024 was 475.2 million RMB. Lastly, on business outlook, we estimated our third quarter revenue to come in the range from 2.58 billion RMB to 2.68 billion RMB, representing a decrease of 15.2% to 11.9% year-over-year, or a decrease of 4.1% to 0.4% quarter-over-quarter. At segment level for Q3 2024, on a sequential basis, we expect Momo revenue to decrease mid to low single digit. On the Tantan side, we expect revenue to decrease high single digit. Please be mindful that this forecast represents the company's current and preliminary view on the market and operational conditions, which are subject to changes. That concluded our prepared portion of today's discussion. With that, let me turn the call back to Ashley to start Q&A. Ashley, please.
Thank you. If you wish to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone and wait for your name to be announced. If you wish to cancel your request, please press star 2. If you're on a speakerphone, please pick up the handset to ask your question. Your first question comes from Suking Zhang with CICC. Please go ahead.
谢谢管理层接受我的提问。我问题是关于陌陌主站的。考虑到当前的宏观政策环境，我们如何看待陌陌主站业务下半年的收入和利润预期？然后未来几年直播和 VAS 的产品策略是什么？最后也想问一下，就是如果看2025年，陌陌有机会实现收入的增长吗？谢谢。Thanks management for taking my question. My question is about Momo. Considering the current macro and regulation environment, how to view the revenue and the profit of the half of the year, and what's your strategy for live streaming and VAS business in the next few years? Lastly, does Momo have a chance to achieve top line growth in 2025? Thank you.
我来回答一下吧。上年末，我们调整了直播和 VAS 音视频场景的运营策略，弱化了以收入为导向的赛事活动。那么过去几个季度，赛事流水的缺失确实对陌陌主站收入造成了一定的负面影响。但直播和 VAS 团队通过推出一些新的日常互动玩法，部分弥补了这个流水的缺口。例如刚才 Six 在发言中提到的，在直播间售卖个性化的专卖道具，在 VAS 聊天室里边增加情感占卜等新的品类，对提升付费转化都起到了积极的作用。整体看，运营策略的调整对流水造成的影响基本符合我们的预期，利润层面甚至是显著好于我们对上半年的预期。因此我们决定下半年延续生态调整的运营策略，进一步会弱化这个工会主导的场景和玩法，特别是各种竞争性的赛事活动。那么在产品上呢，会依托陌陌的社交属性，针对不同层级的付费用户推出更丰富的互动玩法。这虽然会牺牲一些短期的经济利益，但我们觉得会为现金流业务的长期稳定健康发展赢得一个良好的生态环境。至于25年收入是否能实现增长，主要取决于宏观经济和监管的变化，现在下结论还为时过早。那么下半年的收入和利润情况，请 Tracy 来给大家介绍。
Okay, let me translate first. At the end of last year, we adjusted our operating strategy for live streaming and audio and video-based value-added service experiences to reduce revenue-oriented competition events. The decline in competition events related revenue in the past few quarters has indeed had a negative impact on the core Momo app revenue. But our live streaming and VAS team managed to partially offset the revenue decline by introducing new interactive gamified features. For example, as Six just mentioned, we have introduced personalized costume props in the live streaming showrooms, and also added new categories such as love fortune telling in our value-added service chat room experience, which have played a positive role in improving paying conversion. And overall, the impact of the operating strategy adjustment on Momo revenue is pretty much in line with our expectations. And the impact on the profit side is actually indeed better than our expectations for the first half of the year. Therefore, we have decided to continue the operational adjustments to the ecosystem in the second half, and further de-emphasize agency-dominated experiences and features, particularly various competition events. On the product front, we will leverage Momo's social attributes to introduce richer interactive gamified features for paying users at different levels. Although this will cause some short-term financial sacrifice, we believe it will create a positive ecosystem
for the stable and healthy development of the cash cow business in the long run. As for whether our revenue can grow in 2025, it depends mainly on macroeconomic and regulatory changes. It's a bit too early to tell now. As for the revenue and profit guidance for the second half, I will leave that to Cassie. Cassie, please.
Okay. On the financial outlook of the cash cow business, for top line, last quarter we said Q2 would be a good basis to think about the back half of the year. What that means is that if you take the 18% year-over-year decrease in Momo application live streaming and value-added service in Q2, you can apply that same weight for the back half of the year as well. Originally, we thought that second half might be a little bit better because the YOY comparison could get a little bit easier as we entered into the back half of the year. However, since the cash cow over-delivered on the bottom line for the first half, we decided that we should use this opportunity to continue our operational adjustments to push the ecosystem more toward social entertainment rather than competition-driven events. That decision could dip the revenue slightly for the second half of 24, but overall the cash cow is on track to deliver the annual profit target we internally set for it at the beginning of the year. So that's how to think about the cash cow. Other than the cow, within Momo segment, we also have the new applications, mainly the overseas apps. This piece will continue the robust YOY growth momentum. So that could partially offset the YOY decrease from the cow. I think for the whole year, for the Momo segment revenues, we will likely to fall into the 10 to maybe 12% range in terms of YOY decrease. With regards to 2025, as Tang Yan said, it's still too early to tell, but the two biggest determining factors here are still going to be macro and regulatory environment. Profit-wise, our view remains pretty much the same as last quarter. We're still well on track to hit the same adjusted operating margin of high teens for the year. Also internally, we are actually trying to deliver the same annual profit target in absolute dollar amount. We do have the flexibility and are also prepared to control the spending more tightly if top line is under a little bit of a pressure down the road. On the other hand, if things turn out to be more positive on the revenue front, we will perhaps invest a little bit more for the future. In other words, we are trying to manage the cost against the top line so we can deliver the annual profit target we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year. So I guess those are the colors I can give at this point on the outlook for both top line and bottom line. Other than that, I don't want to pin ourselves down too much by promising a bottom line number at this point, at this time of the year. So hopefully that helps. Back to Ashley for next question, please.
Hi, operator. Ready for next question, please?
Thank you. Your next question comes from Jenny Yuan with UBS. Please go ahead.
感谢管理层的提问机会。那我是来自 UBS Jenny。首先恭喜公司非常强劲的业绩表现。那我的问题是关于海外业务这一块的。我们看到来自于 New Apps 这块的一个收入贡献保持着非常良好的一个增长态势。那管理层能否和我们分享一下，就是近期我们海外业务这块的发展情况，以及我们今年对于海外业务这块的一个财务的预期？谢谢。So I will translate myself. First of all, thanks for taking my question and congrats on the solid quarter results. My question is regarding our overseas business. With the good revenue growth momentum in the new apps, could the management update us with the overseas progress so far? And do you have any like financial outlook or guidance for this year that you can share with us? Thank you.
之前介绍过，我们认为海外业务的发展主要依托于3条主线。那么第一条呢是加强本地化的运营，第二呢是玩法上从音频向视频的延伸，第3条呢是拓展海湾富裕国家和中东其他国家地区的市场。刚才呢 Six 在他的发言中提到，年初以来，我们加快了海外业务的本地化进程，上半年在玩法设计、大额服务和供给侧的合作方面都取得了一些成绩。
As I mentioned before, we believe that the growth in our overseas business depends on 3 main factors. Number 1, strengthen localized operation. Number 2, expand product offering from voice-based to live streaming services. And number 3, expand our businesses in wealthy GCC region and other countries in the Middle East. As Six just mentioned, we have accelerated the localization process since the beginning of the year, and in the first half, we have made some good progress in feature design, refined services offering for high-paying users, and supply side collaboration.
当然，对于一个追求全球化发展的集团公司而言，这还远远不够。我们需要持续扩大海外人员的一个储备，加强本地化的运营，完善跨境人员的管理方案，提升整个团队的国际化视野，将有助于我们更深刻的理解，并满足不同文化背景下用户的社交偏好和需求。
This is certainly far not enough for a group company that pursues a global expansion. We need to continue to expand our overseas personnel pool, strengthen localized operations, and improve our cross-border personnel management practices. And improving the international awareness of our team will help us more deeply understand and better meet the social preferences and needs of users from different cultural backgrounds.
上半年直播场景的落地速度略低于我们年初的预期，那么主要是由于产品运营层面需要更长的时间来解决本地化和工会合作的问题。那么近期北京总部的产品和技术团队的骨干成员相继走访了Soulchill的多个重点市场，并与当地团队一起梳理这个用户反馈，优化产品和技术方案。海外团队的壮大为推进本地化礼物设计和 UI 的改版升级，加大直播测试，丰富场景玩法和深耕 GCC 国家，持续拓展图语区市场，奠定了重要基础。经过本轮走访和国际化团队的融合，我们更加确信了中东地区的收入增长机会，以及通过大力推行本地化实现增长的策略。那么财务的相关问题还是交给 Cassie 来回答吧。
The rollout of the live streaming experience in the first half was slightly slower than our expectations at the beginning of the year. This is mainly because it took longer to resolve localization and agency cooperation issues on the product and operational front. Recently, key members of our product and tech team at the Beijing headquarters visited several key Soulchill markets and worked with local teams to sort out user feedback and optimize the product and technical solutions. And the growth of the overseas team has laid a solid foundation for upgrading localized virtual gift design and users interface, and speeding up testing of live streaming features to enrich gamified experiences, and deepening our exploration in GCC countries and Turkish markets. After this round of visits and joint work with the overseas team, we are more convinced of the revenue growth opportunity in the Middle East market and the strategy of achieving growth through enhanced localization. As for the financial part, I will leave that to Cassie. Cassie, please.
Sure. As Changyan mentioned, now it looks like we need to spend some time beefing up our local operations before we could pursue larger scale revenue growth in the broader MENA area. We've been lagging behind on that front in comparison with some of our we've been lagging behind on localization front in comparison with some of our peers who were early into the Middle East markets. For example, the senior management paid our first visit to our major markets in MENA only last month. It was not until then did we realize that there is still some basic level of the infrastructures we need to put in place in order to take the revenue to the next level. So I guess we are going to spend the second half of the year playing some catch up in those areas. The good news is that after the trip, we are even more convinced that there are still a lot of growth opportunities in MENA, so revenue will continue to grow. But before we go full force into, for example, live streaming service, the worldwide growth will likely to slow down a little bit from Q1 level as we spent time laying the groundwork for a strong localization. In Q2, the overseas piece achieved 40-something% year-over-year growth. It could further slow to maybe mid-30s in the back half before our initiatives in Gulf countries and the live streaming start bearing fruits. So that's the color that I can give in terms of financial outlook for the overseas business.
Okay, operator, next question, please. Thank you. Your next question comes from Thomas Chong with Jefferies. Please go ahead.
晚上好，谢谢管理层接受我的提问。我的问题是关于探探的。管理层在刚刚的发言中也提到探探的改版还在持续的进行当中。可以介绍一下关于具体的情况，还有最终想要实现的目标，还有就是改版对收入还有利润的影响。Thanks management for taking my question. My question is about Tantan. Just in the prepared remarks, management talks about the revamp of Tantan is still in progress. Can management talk about the current situation and our ultimate goal, as well as how our revenue and profitability will be impacted by this revamp? Thank you.
过去2年，探探虽然在这个减投控本、提升渠道效率和推动 RP 增长方面都取得了不错的成绩，并且实现了连续6个季度的盈利。但当前用户规模还没有这个完全的企稳，收入受用户规模的影响也呈现出缓慢下跌的趋势。我们认为造成这种情况的根本原因在于探探在核心的约会体验上没有取得实质的突破，产品层面需要进行更大胆的尝试，找到能够显著提升留存的产品方案来带动自然量的增长。
Tantan has achieved good results over the past 2 years in terms of reducing channel investment, improving channel efficiency, and driving RP growth, resulting in 6 consecutive quarters of profit. However, its user base has not yet stabilized, and revenues have also shown a slow downward trend due to the impact of user scale. And we believe the fundamental reason for this is that Tantan has not made significant breakthroughs in the core dating experience. And we need to be bolder at the product level to find product solutions that can significantly improve retention and drive organic user growth.
本轮改版，我们以全面回归用户体验为目标，调整交互界面，优化用户引导策略。例如，为了提升用户的真实感，我们会通过发放试用会员权利的方式，激励用户上传真实的图片及文字信息，并在匹配后的聊天环节引导用户完成真人认证。另一个突出的问题是，为了提升 DAU， 我们的算法会想办法照顾一些不容易获得匹配机会的男性用户的体验，而这样做的一个后果是少量优质女性获得了过度的曝光机会，导致了大量匹配无法转换成聊天互动。因此，算法团队会通过减少低质匹配来降低用户的决策成本，进而提升聊天的转化。
In this round of version upgrade, we aim to fully return to the user experience by adjusting the interface and optimize the user guidance strategy. For example, to enhance a sense of authenticity of users, We will encourage them to upload real pictures and text information by issuing trial membership benefits, and guide users to complete real person authentication in the chat session after matching. And another prominent issue is that in order to improve DAU, our algorithm tries to take care of the experience of some male users who don't easily get matching opportunities. As a result, a small number of high-quality female users got excessive exposure, resulting in a large number of matches that could not be converted into chat interactions. Therefore, our algorithm team will make it easier for women to make up their minds by reducing low-quality matches, thereby improving chat conversions.
为了鼓励产品商多做尝试，管理层不希望团队在改版测试期间受到短期数字的束缚，因此，我们将允许用户规模和收入在短期内出现一定的波动。我们认为这对产品来说是一个长期正确的选择。我很高兴看到团队在挑战的环境中坚守求新求变的精神。陌陌的全新改版，探探的全新改版不仅展示出我们对于用户需求变化的洞察，更显示出我们对于改善用户体验的强大决心。那么具体的财务问题还是交给 Casey。
To encourage more exploration on the product side, management does not want the team to be constrained by short-term operational and financial targets during the pilot phase of the upgrade. Therefore, we are allowing some fluctuations in user scale and revenue in the short term. We believe this is the right decision for Tantan in the long run. I am very pleased to see that the team is maintaining the spirit of innovation and adoption in a challenging environment. The redesign of Tantan demonstrates not only our insight into evolving user needs, but also our strong commitment to improving user experience. As for the financial part, I will leave that to Cassie.
Okay, for Tantan, I guess there are three things worth calling out on the financial side. One is what Sik and Tangyan pointed toward in their comments. After a long period of trial and error, we figured that the only way out for Tantan is to not worry about short-term KPI numbers and do whatever we believe is the right thing to do in order to give the users the best dating experience. So for the coming 6 months or so, we are going to allow the Tantan team to put financial targets aside and set top priority on the dating experience. While I do not have full clarity at this point on where the revenue would land for the rest of the year, I guess Q2's YOY decrease could be a good reference point to project the back half of 2024. The second point I like to call out here is while Tantan is still not ROI positive in terms of user acquisition, we believe we need to keep the marketing spend at the Q2 level for the coming couple of quarters so that the scale of Tantan will be maintained. And the third thing I would like to mention here is that if you put the first thing and the second thing I mentioned just now together and try to think about the bottom line for Tantan, I think the profit will likely to decrease from the first half of the year. But for the whole year 2024, our view is that Tantan is still going to be profitable. So that's Tantan's financial outlook. Now I'm handing back to Ashley to make the call.
I think, this is perfect timing. So thank you for participating, and we'll see you next quarter.
Thank you. This does conclude our conference for today. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.